Hey Hearties, you're listening to the Hearties Hotline, your connection to Hope Valley, hosted by me, Kaycee, and my friends Caroline and Cammie. A special thanks goes to our friend Brian Bird for letting us use the music on our show. Without further ado, grab a scone from Abigail's and enjoy.
Ho, 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 Hearties! Welcome to the Hearties Hotline, your connection to Hope Valley. I am the Who down in Hooked Hardyville.
We're going all Christmas right now, you guys.
I am the Who down in Hooked Hardyville, Cammie Clements, with my lovely co-host, the Happy Christmas Hardy, Kaycee.
This is news to me. Hi. I'm the Happy Christmas ghost spirit. Hardy. Y'all, Cammie just sprung this on me. I was not prepared.
I totally just sprung it at her.
I thought she was going to call me like Kaycee Loohoo or something. I don't know.
Dang it, that's a good one. Why didn't I think of that one?
My late English teacher used to call me Kaycee Lou.
Oh, yeah?
That's not my middle name or anything. She would just, Kaycee Lou. Hello.
We are in a very Christmassy mood here at the Hallmarkies podcast because we're in the middle of December. Yes, Kaycee has her lovely Christmas tree.
My baby Christmas tree that's full of glitter, and my husband's gonna hate it because it's glittery.
It looks like it could be Cindy Lou Who's Christmas tree.
It could be like her little,
But we are also here to announce another giveaway.
Yeah.
Yes, because it is the season of giving. So thanks to our friends at Edify Films who provide things like this lovely hat that you see me wearing always, because now that I have it, I can't podcast without it. It's just not... It's part of my head whenever I get on the Hearties Hotline. So we are here to announce the giveaway this time. Buy your favorite Hearty, the soundtrack.
Yay!
Yay! You can give it to them and they will listen to it over and over and over because we all know how much we love the music. Or you know what? Secret Santa yourself and give it to yourself. Because after a year like this, you deserve it.
That's right.
That's right.
And that music is just so beautiful. It's perfect for just winding down from a long day. And you just put it in the background and it just makes life cheery.
Reliving all your favorite moments. Because, oh my gosh, I don't know if you have memories with music the way I do, but a couple of notes of a certain song and I am transported back in time to whenever that song was happening that created the memory. It's amazing. So
yes,
I hear certain things and it's gonna come alive in our brains.
Yeah, all my music memories have to do with Filipino parties and line dancing, so
that's an interesting combination.
I mean, when you get those titas up on the dancing queen on the floor, I mean, y'all have not seen a good party.
Well, now that song, I will have to agree with you because my 72-year-old mother, you need to see her during the dancing queen. She becomes the dancing queen. But we digress. So all you have to do is go and subscribe to Kaycee.
All you have to do is subscribe or follow our Instagram, which is at Hearties Hotline. So be sure and follow us because you will know when we drop an episode. And sometimes we get on the Insta stories and do some fun things. That's
Yeah.
a goal in 2021 to do more shenanigans on the Insta stories as we get closer to the most anticipated season of When Calls the Heart, season 8. This giveaway will run from today, December 16th, through Saturday, December 19th. So be sure you enter very soon and very quickly. And good luck.
All right, everybody. Now let's move on to our discussion for today. We are on season 1, episode 8, Perils of the Soloists.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Cami, I forgot how emotionally charged and draining this episode was.
Uh-huh.
I think my emotions went 180 about 4 different times because
yeah,
there was so much in this episode that I was either laughing or crying. There was no in between.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Okay, so let's start with the summary. Elizabeth must put on the Coal Valley Founders Day play on short notice. Very short notice. The only surviving miner from the explosion comes home from the hospital with a shocking surprise. Jack has a heart-to-heart with Adam, the miner, in hopes of bringing him back to his family. All right. Oh. So, Kaycee, to start off, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Jack says to Adam, when I was young, I thought my father hung the moon. And I know your girls feel like that about you too.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have someone in your life, or did you have someone in your life that you thought hung the moon?
I guess I would have to say both my parents, especially now as being a mom myself. Looking back, I don't know how they did it. To be quite honest with you, I really don't know how they did it. Like leaving their homeland and going across the world, halfway across the world, and then going even further around the world, achieving the American dream, raising 2 children, sacrificing their schedule so that somebody was always home with us. Because my grandparents, both my grandparents passed away before I was 6. So my grandma, she passed away before my 6th birthday, like 5 months before. But she took care of us until she got really sick. My grandfather passed away when I was like 3-ish. So they had a lot of help and they had a really good support system. But once my grandma passed away, my parents had to really finagle their schedule so that they didn't have to spend the extra money that they didn't have to send us to daycare. So I guess looking back, I'd say definitely my parents, and just knowing all the sacrifices they made. That's my long answer.
Oh, that's good. Wow. For me, you would think that if I asked the question, I would give it some forethought, but one I actually have a few, but the one that I'll say is my paternal grandfather. He died when I was 7. And it was after surgery. A blood clot formed in his lungs after the surgery, and so they thought he was doing fine, and then he stopped breathing. And so my dad had traveled out to see him for the surgery, and then I was all excited that my dad was coming home because my dad traveled a lot when I was a girl. And so I was all excited that he was coming home. And then I walk into the room and I kind of play peekaboo. And then I see that he's really sad and say, "What's wrong, Daddy?" And say, "Honey, Grandpa Townsend just died." And that was the first time that anybody close to me had ever died. And my paternal grandparents came and visited us all the time. I was really, really close to them. My grandma would send us letters constantly, and she would send us a card with $1 in it for every holiday.
Oh.
Yeah, and so that was always something to look forward to because we would get mail, and they really, really focused on us, and they would drive their trailer down from Utah and come and visit us, and then we would go up and see them every summer. And my grandpa could fix anything. He could fix anything, and he was really good at fishing. He was an outdoors man, and so I thought my grandpa hung the moon. So yeah, that would probably be my answer. So let's talk about that storyline of the man that once hung the moon and had to learn how to hang the moon again.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh my. Oh my.
Yeah.
So this time watching it around,
Mhm.
again, different perspective because now a parent of two girls, just like Laurel and Adam.
Yeah.
So that was another fresh picture for me.
Yeah.
But the other thing that stood out to me was the fact that this storyline is so drastically different than um, later season storylines. I mean, this dealt with a very heavy issue of PTSD and mental illness in a
And
way.
and losing a limb.
And so I don't want to say it went to a dark place, but it kind of did.
No.
It did in a very classy,
Yeah.
family friendly sort of way. And I
Yeah.
really appreciated that because it wasn't all honky dory. I mean, I wasn't sure if Adam, I mean, the first time around, I wasn't sure if Adam was gonna like actually, you know, commit self-harm or anything like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, but I appreciate the fact that Adam and Laurel also had a very real fight. It wasn't
Yes.
just a how could you and da 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 da. I mean, my heart was beating like
Yeah.
so rapidly in this moment because I was so wrapped up in trying to, you know, go into these characters' shoes and feel it in the moment. And like, what would I feel if I were Laurel, or what would I feel if I were Adam? And like, like even right now, just talking about it, I'm like, oh my word.
The other thing that I really loved is their relationship was so real. You know,
Yes.
a lot of times we talk about the romance. We gush over the sweet moments. And so it may seem that we would want Laurel and Adam to just fall into each other's arms and kiss each other and talk about how much they missed each other. But when you think about it, that he has been harboring this secret for 5 months,
Mhm.
and he comes back, he's ashamed, she's shocked, and even if his body had been intact, it was gonna take time
Mhm.
for them to reacclimate to each other.
Right.
But with him missing a limb and feeling that he is half a man, and I remember getting frustrated and saying, "You're lucky to be alive." but then, I realized that this was a man who proved his self-worth
Mm-hmm.
through his physical activity
Yes.
and through his strength and through, I mean, he had, one thing I noticed about him is he had very long arms and very strong arms.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, he could probably wrap his arms all the way around Laurel.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what he saw himself as, was her provider, her protector.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's reduced to visibly and very jerkily shaking when a whistle blows,
Mm-hmm.
and he's limping everywhere. So
Yeah.
they had a very real reaction to each other, that I saying I missed you, having the tender words, but not quite in step with
Mm-hmm.
each other yet.
Yeah. That's a perfect way of saying it. They were not in step.
Yeah,
They obviously loved each other.
obviously.
Very obviously. Obviously, Adam loved his daughters. But Laurel and Adam were definitely out of sync. They were not in sync. And for Adam too, not only is he, that the man who hung the moon and the provider at work, he was top of his game. That was one thing
Yeah,
that stuck out to me too, is when Ansville that's his name, right? The foreman,
yeah.
Mr. Ansville. He
Mm-hmm.
says, "Oh, I remember you were constantly at the top of this." And I was like, "Oh, he's also a high performer too. And now he can barely, he could barely move. He's doing his best."
Yeah.
And then of course he's got PTSD. So anytime something shakes, whistles, loud noises, rumblings, he's going to freak out,
Yep. Yep. And he's got survivor's guilt. He was the one man pulled
Mhm.
out alive.
Yeah.
I mean, can you even imagine that scale?
Yeah.
To be on the scale of something that huge. 47 men died, and you alone were pulled out alive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, talk about survivor's guilt.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And and Jolene is constantly bragging about him. He's the top miner in town. He once dug 2 miles through the mountain in one day.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this guy was practically Superman.
Yeah.
In the mining community.
He really was.
Yeah.
Really was.
So I got another what if question for you.
Okay.
What if you had been Laurel, and 5 months you went thinking your husband was getting better, and he comes home with one leg?
Oh, okay. My emotions would probably be all over. I would probably tell my husband, "I love you. I'm glad you're here." But I probably would not be as gracious as Laurel. I'd probably have to really rein it back and just be like, I mean, I think maybe not so much like, as soon as my husband steps out of the stagecoach, I'm not going to go off on him in front of the entire town. But I think my reaction would be just as real as Laurel. Like I probably would say some fighting words and regret it just like she did. Because I really empathized with her in that moment. I really did. Because there have been times where my husband and I, we've both been under stress, and like just words fly out. We don't mean it necessarily.
Yep.
But once you say it, you can't take it back. But you're in the heat of the moment, and the stress and the anger, and just like things are said. And that's another thing I appreciated about these two characters, is they were real fighting words. They were not surface. This argument was not a surface level thing, which I think that's something that we've kind of gotten into more. Just in today's TV shows, a lot of arguments are not deeper than that. I mean, this dug deep, y'all.
Oh my gosh. I mean, when she said, "If you were just going to give up, then why did you bother even coming?" And she just stopped herself. She couldn't even believe that had come out of her mouth, but she was ranting, and she knew it and he knew it. And like you said, those words cannot be taken back.
Yeah.
I know I have said things that I didn't mean under stress to my husband. And I just think, oh my gosh, what could have possessed me? Oh man. So
I mean, to be honest with you too, with Adam and Laurel sacrificed their money to buy him a prosthetic leg because she thought it would be helping him. And because he's already feeling like he's worthless, he doesn't want to be a charity case because he's a proud man, because he was Superman before. And the way he just shoved that thing off the table, breaking things. I mean,
it shattered glass.
I mean, if my husband did that, I would react the same way as Laurel. I'm human, y'all. You guys, I am very human.
I would have said, what is wrong with you? And I mean, especially how proud Laurel was, and how proud the girls were that they had done this to make a better life for their pod. And so, speaking of which, my reaction, if that happened to me, would have been far more dramatic than Laurel's. I would not have gone off on him in front of the town, but I probably would have gone and I probably would have started to sob right then and there. 5 months and you never said a word, and now I'm finding out in front of the entire town. I mean, there are so many things that she could have done to prepare for that moment if she had known.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. And can we just take a moment and say how incredible Chad and Christine's performances are?
Oh, fantastic.
Oh my god.
I mean, to be honest with you, for a moment there, I thought they were married for real. I mean, I know they're not, but just the way their chemistry was in this episode.
You get swept up in it.
Yeah, I was totally swept up in it because it just
you're supposed to
be. That's true.
Yeah.
Can we highlight another character in this family? Another actress in this family who did an impeccable job?
Please, I was just going to go to her. Please do.
Lila Fitzgerald.
You are amazing.
Oh, my Lanta. This girl. She can bring someone to tears. We need to have you on the podcast, Lila. Come on over.
Lila, we are coming for you. We are coming for you, girl.
Yeah, and we know you're much older now, but we just have to say, wow, the casting of the children is just perfect because either they overact or they underact. And Lila in that, I thought this was a real life family because the way that she looks, that Jolene looks at her dad when he comes out, and then she just runs to him and she's not sobbing, but her face is crumpling up. It was perfect. And like the run and hug at the end, that was also another moment that was just beautifully portrayed. Her innocence with, trying to sneak a peek and see like what really is under the blanket.
Man, her curiosity.
Yeah.
Her curiosity and do I dare peeking under, oh my gosh, his leg really is gone. Just wow.
She played that perfectly. She had like the big wide eyes and everything.
Yeah.
And then the most crushing moment for me in this is when she's so excited. She has picked up these flowers for her father, and she, her mom's like, oh, we'll put it in a vase. And they're so excited. And of course, Adam doesn't know. He's so wrapped up in the fact that his wife is demeaning him, in his mind, at least. We all know she's not doing that, but in his mind, he feels like he's not a man. when he throws that and he storms out, she's holding Morgan Rose and like cowering in a corner because she's never seen her daddy like this before. And then she picks up her flowers in the vase and just like cradling it and holding it. And I was like, oh my goodness. Tears. Don't cry, Kaycee. Don't cry. It was
the moment that did it for me was when now I'm gonna cry. When she says, my daddy never came back. Miss Fletcher.
That one too.
Because that's what happened to me. My dad, they found his cancer because he needed a quadruple bypass. His heart was in such bad shape by the time he got it looked at that they needed to do a quadruple bypass, and then they found his cancer. And
oh, wow.
And this all happened when I was at college. I had no knowledge of the quadruple bypass, and I had no knowledge of them finding cancer until my mom came up to visit me for a play I was in, and then she told me in person, which I understand she wanted to tell me in person, but at the same time, I was like, how is this all happening without my knowledge? But when I came home at the end of the semester, my daddy was gone, and it was replaced by this other man, because there was something about having his heart worked on that changed him. And so that line, that's the line that got to me, because I totally knew what Jolene was talking about. And the other one was when she was cuddled in bed with Laurel and saying, when he was gone before, I knew he was coming home. This time, I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
I mean, can you just imagine? They just got him back. It's a different form of him, but they just got him back.
Yeah.
And all that time he was in the hospital, they knew he was coming home. They didn't know when, they didn't know how long it was going to be, but they knew he was coming home. And this time, it is a very real possibility that he wasn't coming home.
Right.
Oh!
Yeah.
Shoot you straight in the heart.
I mean, honestly, she is so perceptive, Jolene is. Oh,
she's a smart girl.
She is
Jolene is smart. Such a smart girl.
She's very smart. Very perceptive. I don't know that most kids are smart. They would pick that up, but I don't know how much to that extent they would pick up on that, because she really dug deep into the emotions of her father. It wasn't just, my dad's angry. He's just grumpy and mad now. I don't know why. She knew that there was definitely something that was not right in her gut. Like, she knew something was terribly wrong.
Which made a really nice contrast to Morgan Rose's innocence. My daddy only has one leg now. It's just, and the first sighting, what's wrong with daddy's leg? I mean, that is the perfect childish answer to ask. That's exactly what would come out of any 5-year-old's mouth, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk about Adam and Jack and that scene together, and then let's talk about the final scene.
Yeah. This was the first time that we've seen Jack really open up about his personal life.
And
it's
the first time that we hear the story about his father.
Mm-hmm. And the writing and the development of Jack's character totally fit this situation. Jack has held his personal life very tight knit inside of him.
Close to his vest.
Yes. Probably more like deeply underneath his vest.
Probably.
But I really appreciated the fact that the writers slowly unveiled Jack. They slowly reveal his character and like what makes him tick and why is he the way he is and why is he so overprotective? Why did he become a Mountie? And I think that having him reveal his backstory to the audience, so to us, through telling his story to Adam, was very appropriate. Because we're not getting his whole backstory all at once. Like we didn't hear him have a conversation with Elizabeth that said, hey, my mom was a teacher, my dad is a Mountie, and he died. Hey, it wouldn't have that impact. But when he's talking to Adam, a man who's suffering with PTSD, who is about to commit self-harm and who has 2 daughters, Jack's story about his father not having a choice to quote unquote come back home was very, very powerful for both the audience and for Adam, because Adam now had a choice to make. And I mean,
especially with the word burden. The timing of the conversation was uncanny. It's just such a well written and well delivered script. Because, Adam says, father who is away providing for his family is very different from a father who's a burden. And then he got hurt. It's a very kind way. It's a very kind way of saying you don't know as much as you think you know. And you're not the only one who has suffered. So open your eyes a little bit, and you said something really profound right there. Jack's father didn't have a choice.
Right.
When he came home. Adam Miller has a choice. He has a choice. And that was, I also loved what Jack said, that he says, there is more to a man than flesh and bone, and the Almighty can bless the work of your hands. He purposefully said the work of your hands, I think.
Yes.
Because he has both hands, and he not only was he the fastest miner, where he had to use both legs and he was a powerhouse and a Superman of a man, but he still has both hands that can build, that can love, that can be a craftsman of some kind. And we find out in season 2 that he was pretty handy with a hammer and a nail. So bingo, right. We'll get to that later, but that was a really, really beautiful moment, even though at the time Adam rejects it. He says, don't you play with me. I know who I am. And it's funny because I remember the first time watching it and just shaking my head. No, I don't think you do. I don't think you do know who you are. Yeah. You know who you were, and you know who you feel you are, but I don't think you know who you are right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think in that moment, he was just trying to get Jack off his back, Yeah. Because I'm pretty sure Adam was just saying that to say it, because he obviously didn't know who he was, just through his actions and through what he was saying, especially with just so many empty things that he was saying to Laurel and to Jack in the beginning. But yeah, they did a great job portraying a man with PTSD in this episode.
They did.
They did
a fabulous job.
Yeah.
The way that Jack described the PTSD is being in a mine. Something that Adam could connect to.
Right.
And something that I think Adam was feeling but didn't quite know how to express. And Jack says to him, you got to find a way out of that mine back into life. And I just have this very vivid picture in my head of Jack of Adam scraping and clawing and digging through the dirt. And finally the light breaks through and he finds a way out of the mine. He finds a way out of the mine of his brain.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Jack brings Adam back. If you remember from my chat with Chad last week, he said that day on set was just as emotional as it appears. that moment was just as emotional as it looked. And I loved that description, because also, if you remember, I knew who Chad Willett was from 1995. And so my first reaction, seeing him get out of the stagecoach, it went up from the peg leg, and I remember my reactions perfectly. I went, oh no. And then it panned up and went, oh, him! So I had a moment of levity in a time when I shouldn't have, but and then I went, oh, him! Oh, it was a very silly moment, but then having known him and remembering him with fondness from my preteen and my teenage years. And then watching his character go through this and watching him play it so grippingly, and he took me on that journey with him. And then to see him accept himself and to see him truly want to go back to his family, because even it didn't matter what Jack said until he was blue in the face. If he didn't want to go back, nothing was going to make him.
Exactly.
And he truly did have a change of heart, and he wanted to go and be a father. And I said this to Chad, the performer in me, the actor in me, when Jolene ran up to her, I was like, no, in the middle of the show, don't do that. The show must go on.
No, not in these instances. Her daddy's back.
But the daughter in me, my father passed away 9 years ago. And if by some chance there had been a mistake, and all of a sudden, and I thought he was gone, and then he shows up in the doorway, there's no way I'm staying there.
Right. But what a beautiful way to end that storyline.
So much so.
And
so much so.
I think, too, another thing I appreciate is they didn't necessarily tie it up in a nice, pretty bow. We didn't see Laurel and Adam, kissing and having this heart-to-heart of, everything's going to be okay.
Right.
These things will take time. to heal from. But at least it's beginning that step. It's opening that door, and Adam's return is showing Laurel, like, you know what, life is going to be different. It's going to be a little hard for me, but I'm here and I'm willing to try to grow past these moments, these hard times, and these hard moments for you and for the girls. So,
and I'm going to be that man that you fell in love with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There are two lines that Laurel says that just touched me so deeply. For me, there will never be another man.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that's a very frontier town way of saying something a lot heavier, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, he was and is the only man that Laurel has ever loved.
Mm-hmm.
And like so many around her, she got him back.
Yeah.
And so now he's going to be that man that she fell in love with. And then the other thing is, I loved you then, I love you now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that takes an incredible amount of character.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Especially to do all of that right up front.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's have a little fun.
Yay! We're gonna
yak about Jack. Okay.
Okay, before we start, I just say I appreciate the levity that the Jack and Elizabeth storyline brings, and the Founders play and all of that, because
we needed it.
Wow, with such a heavy storyline with Adam, because I feel like even though he's a B character, that storyline was very prevalent in this episode.
Agreed.
I so appreciated the moments of levity, so it wasn't feeling so heavy. Okay.
So let's start with Jack not being able to keep a straight face because Elizabeth has something on her nose.
Oh, he's such a pill.
He is such a pill. I love when Morgan Rose says, "You look silly," and he just breaks out laughing. He can't hold it in anymore. Now, okay, how did she pick the nose right off the bat? I mean, she just says, "I paint on my nose, don't I?" I would have been like, okay, is there something on my face? She picked the nose very quickly.
Maybe she touched her nose really fast, and she knew that. I don't know.
And then, of course, he uses that moment to just touch her a little bit. Mm-hmm. You know, we're getting more physically comfortable with each other, which I think is very cute.
They're not social distancing.
No, they certainly are not.
Jack he's got a lot of revelations of hidden talents in this episode.
Oh my goodness. Okay, now that's another question. How did Abigail find out?
She had to have known, because in the first episode, Jack notices the painting of from Noah Stanton right off.
And he appreciates it. She talks about the artist's eye and all that, but I don't know. I just was like...
but the thing is, like, who else in that town?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. It's the process of elimination, because she knows everybody in that town.
Oh, yeah, it's a small town. Everybody knows everybody's business, even before the telephone arrives. But I think what happened is Elizabeth came home and was like, "Abigail, the most amazing thing happened, blah, 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 it's a painting." And then she's like, "Let's go see it, since you're here in the cafe all the time." So they go to see it, and she's like, "This is interesting." And she probably went, it's probably one person. And
Did you love
is Jack, because he appreciated Noah's artwork. We don't know much about him. And who else would spend all night long painting a mural?
I would think it would be obvious, but apparently it wasn't to Elizabeth. You know, I do have to say, I do wish that we had found that we had a scene later on down the line of Elizabeth finding out. Because, you know, she finds out from Rosemary that he's a painter and all of that, and we can see it clicking. But I don't know. That is one thing that I wish we could have seen. I wish we could have seen Elizabeth find out that it was Jack who painted it, because then she could get all upset, quote unquote, about the picture of them.
The stick of dynamite.
Being a stick of dynamite.
Since we're talking about that mural, can we real quick jump to the kids discovering the stick of dynamite?
Oh my gosh! I will never forget sitting there in my mom's living room on the couch, hugely pregnant, and I'm just dying laughing. I was laughing so hard. And I mean, when the magnifying glass showed up there, I went,
I think I took a rewind. I think it rewinded.
I had to rewind it at least twice.
I know. It was so funny. I was not expecting that the first time.
No.
I don't know what I was expecting, to be honest with you. I don't know. Kids are kids. I worked with a bunch of teenagers at one point in my life, and they laughed at the silliest things. So I was like, okay, Gabe and Rachel are basically like gawking at this. And then they're like, hey, James, buddy, come on over here. Check this thing out. And he's like, oh, look. Like, what was it? Was it like, I don't know. What do kids laugh at in 1910? I'm sure the same thing that kids laugh out in 2010 and 2020. But Elizabeth's face when she discovers that thing, and the kids are just laughing. They're not laughing with
trying so hard to keep it contained. No, they're laughing at her.
Oh, yep. They are totally. And wasn't it James that basically threw them under the bus and was like, looks like it's Mountie Jack and you kidding.
It says it does look an awful lot like you and Mountie Jack. No, it doesn't, James. It doesn't at all.
Oh, really?
And if you watch with the subtitles, I don't know who said it, but if you watch with the subtitles, when the kids are getting up, one of them says, I knew it. And I went,
oh, yes. Called out by Miss Thatcher's students.
And then, okay, let's go to that final scene. If I can get through it.
Once again, Jack's playing with Rip.
Yes. When someone comes in and he has a panicked look on his face for a moment before he puts his hat down on something.
Oh.
Well, what are we doing in the painting? I can't really say. We're kissing. We're kissing? Well, that is completely inappropriate. I can't even say it with a straight face. You're fiction.
Oh, so
my gosh.
funny.
I laugh so hard every single time I watch this episode because that scene is just hysterical, and how he gets her to back down from trying to figure out who did it by saying, both of our reputations are on the line here. No interrogating. You know?
He's so serious about it too.
Yes, he's so serious.
Okay, seriously, what constable in any town is going to conduct an official investigation because some dude drew or painted two people kissing. Most constables would be like, yeah, no.
Well, that shows how very little he has to do in 1910 now that the church fire has been, now that the church fire has been discovered, the culprit, and he's waiting for Bill to come for the mine investigation. Yeah. So he has very little to do at the moment.
Apparently not. Apparently he has all the time in the world to paint a 10-foot by 12-foot mural. So,
okay. And who else would have the motive to paint the two of them kissing besides him? I mean, come on.
And she thought it was the students.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Too funny.
Too funny. Now, I do want to just mention one serious moment between the two of them, and that's when Elizabeth tells him to be careful because right now Adam Miller is a loose cannon and they don't know who's going to get caught in the crossfire. And she says, please be careful. And he says kind of bashfully and kind of tossing it aside, I'm glad to see you're so concerned for your constable. And she doesn't throw it over her shoulder. She doesn't pass it off. She takes the time. I thought that this was especially fitting because just the episode before, Jack had taken her by the arms and said, I want you to know that you can count on me. Mm-hmm. So now I feel that it's Elizabeth having that serious moment and she didn't say the words, but I think that this is her moment of saying, you can count on me. Mm-hmm. I'm concerned for my constable, but I'm also concerned for the man who wears the constable's uniform, which is, in 1910 language, I'm incredibly attracted to you. So come back alive.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I thought that was her, you can count on me moment. Mm-hmm. And I found it very, you catch all these little things when you go back and watch that you've never seen before, but I didn't realize that they happened one right after the other in the episode. So yeah, I thought that was very cool.
Yeah.
And, then of course we end with Jack sliding all the paintbrushes and the tubes of paint into a drawer and getting that coy little smile and saying, our little secret boy.
Rip is totally judging him the entire time.
When she puts her hands on his chest, I didn't realize this before, but she has a hand on his chest in the mural. And so when she puts her hands on his chest, when she says, I'm glad you're on the case, I think it's almost like she caught herself doing what she was doing in the painting. Yeah. And then Rip barks and she puts her hands down. I'm not doing anything. I'm not touching him. What?
Rip. Good old Rip.
Good old Rip. All right. And with that concludes our discussion of Perils of the Soloists. And now I have some trivia for you. Trivia. Okay. Number 1. What kind of stitch did Jack use to help Elizabeth sew the costumes?
Oh, it's just a little whip stitch.
Oh, very good. And by the way, may I say, she saw his knee.
Oh, is that a foreshadowing?
Maybe. But no, it didn't occur to me until a couple of times ago watching this, like, wait a minute, was that entirely appropriate for him to do? I know it's not the same as a woman lifting up her skirt, but I was just like, Wait a sec.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So she saw his knees before he saw her knees.
Ooh, my.
Oh my.
The bee's knees here. All right.
Oh man, we are going to have way too much fun when we come to that episode. All righty. Number 2. What was the company that closed? So they had to go find a new place to live.
The candle company.
Very good.
Yay!
Who did Jack quote to Elizabeth?
Oh, Aristotle.
Very good. What was the old teacher's name?
Oh, Mrs. Appleton. I wrote that one down.
Oh, good for you. Okay. I'm throwing a curveball here. Are you ready?
No, but I guess you're going to throw it to me anyway. So here's my catcher's mitt.
What was the other Aaron Krakow Hallmark movie that Red River Valley is sung in?
Oh, man.
Because I'm going to tell you, this was only the second time that I had ever heard this song. And the first time was in this movie that she was in on Hallmark.
Is it Chance at Romance?
Yeah!
Oh, yeah! I just won $1 million. Really quick, since we are in a giving mood, of Hooked Hardyville, should we just share, since we're in a giving mood, our next week's episode?
Ooh.
No.
Shall we?
I think we should. Because it's Christmas next week, after all.
It is Christmas next week, and Hearties, we have a very special Christmas present coming to you, and that is Miss Charlotte Hegley, Julie Thatcher.
Yay!
And can we just say she was an absolute thrill to talk to. She was marvelous and we adored her.
Oh, she is just so fun. So fun. Love talking to her. She is a delight. She is absolutely lovely. We would love to end the Hearties Hotline 2020 year on
its
a high
inaugural
note.
year.
Our inaugural year with a high note, and that's going to be Charlotte Hegley. And I mean, come on. It's Charlotte, y'all.
It's Charlotte.
It's Charlotte.
We can't
She's
do an
fantastic.
episode after that.
No. Well, no, absolutely not. You're going to want to listen to it 100 times.
All right, Hearties, you've heard from us enough for one day. We love all of you. Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas!